Got 1 minute.
Northern Michigan. Yeah, so they beat them. And it wasn't a super high scoring game. I should have been a little bit more.
So read the 23, say if the person's here, they can either say their comments in person or if they're duplicated.
Well, I would go by what the indication is. Meaning they indicate on there whether there's differences to read.
Yeah, but if they're, because some of them, I think there was a couple that weren't in person, or that were in person and then submit, so that's why.
I would just say, for those, I would just read them all.
Okay.
Just keep it, otherwise you can call people and someone can keep it.
So just the ones that submitted ones, not the ones that said in
For
person.
the 9, 20,
Yeah.
that was for the ad hoc,
Yeah.
or no, that was for the, okay, I'm sorry, that was for the regular scheduled meeting.
But if they make comments in person, there's nothing for me to read on that, so that's.
Oh, right, and then you just call them forward.
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
They're not here,
right.
they're not here.
That's right.
Are you ready? Ready? Okay. All those that are able, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from all evil. Thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever and ever. Amen.
Thank you. I'd like to call the regular meeting of October 7th, 2024 to order. Are there any additions to the agenda? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to accept the agenda as it is written.
Question for you. Not sure if we have to add the addition to the agenda to discuss the Mott Foundation issue?
It's in your agenda,
Okay.
and it is item 2.45.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Motion to accept the agenda as it is written? So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 The ayes have it. Jordan, is there any communications from the public?
Yes, Mr. Chair. There has been one letter that has been submitted to the board by the City of Grand Blanc, and it states, "Dear Board Chairperson, enclosed in this letter is the unimproved resolution for Alan Wendling, the Park Place request for the commercial redevelopment abatement under the provision of PA 255 of 1978, as amended of the Public Acts of the State of Michigan. The City of Grand Blanc has received the application for Alan Wendling, the Park Place, 130 Reed Road, Grand Blanc, Michigan, for abatement of a property in accordance with the provision of PA 255 of 1978 as amended. The City of Grand Blanc will hold a public hearing regarding approval, disapproval, and number of years of the application for Alan Wendling, the Park Place, on Wednesday, October 9th, 2024 at 7 p.m. at City of Grand Blanc City Hall, City Council Chambers, 203 East Grand Blanc Road, Grand Blanc, Michigan. Please contact me or Wendy Jean Buer at 810 if you have any questions. Sincerely, Mary Hopkins, City Clerk, City of Grand Blanc.
Thank you very much. Are there any other communications?
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Board, we have comments from the public. However, we have a tight agenda with some deadlines that we must meet for the federal government. If it's without objection, I would like to move the comments from the public to item number after item 12 and before item 13. Is there any objection? Yes. Okay, we have an objection. All those in favor of moving it signify by saying aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay.
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 Okay. Public comments. Jordan, do we have any public comments?
Mr. Chair, we have public comments that have been submitted for the canceled 9/23 meeting, regular meeting. So I have the comments here, and for those who are here presently, I'm going to call your name. If you are here, you have the option to come up and speak, or otherwise, those that have been submitted for reading, I will read those. So the first comment has been submitted by Glenn Harris, Flint, Michigan, and from 9/23, he was going to make his comments in public, so is Glenn here to make those our comments? Otherwise, I will read them. Seeing that he's not here, I will go ahead and read. Having attended the special meeting 10 days ago, at which 100% of the 28 public comments offered sound advice about the need to do differently, it's hard to know now what to say anymore that might influence your proceedings in the presidential search. But I'll focus my comments today on some specifics under the heading of trust in the process and the result. Presumably, you will like your work and your choice to inspire us. That will require that you conduct a trustworthy process. All the choices you have made so far fail the test. Choosing to not use a professional executive search firm does not inspire trust. Putting much of the work in the hands of the ad hoc committee, 3 white men of a certain age who have among them 0 experience in conducting a search for a college president, does not inspire trust. Proposing that after identifying 5 semifinalists, each board member could then add a name to the list of someone who could not make the cut through whatever vetting happens does not inspire trust. Who has conducted a hiring process with that kind of backdoor to the final stage? What might you still do differently now? Well, we might have learned something more from the meeting of the 16th, or rather 17th, or rather 20th, or perhaps tomorrow. Going forward, just to identify a few possibilities, you could establish several times and places that are most convenient for various campuses, or campus and community groups to receive input from those groups. Produce a candidate profile that accurately reflects the clear preference and interest of those groups. Produce a detailed set of evaluation criteria, including how you will weight answers to each interview question that all board members will use the record to record their judgments. Consult with others who have conducted such searches to determine what questions to ask candidate references. Consult with others with experience to determine who to call who are not on the candidate's list of references and what questions to ask them. Show us a process you will use to receive written feedback from everyone who views the interviews with semifinalists. Schedule meetings well in advance of the date that happen, promptly advertise those meetings, and then commit to actual meeting on those dates. Or you could just take a clear-eyed look at the nature of the job ahead of you and say, you know what, we should hire someone to do this who has done it many times before. Will you do any of these things that might at least somewhat increase confidence and thus at least somewhat improve the chances of confidence in whoever you hire?
Thank you very much. Are there any other comments?
Yes, Mr. Chair. The next comment from September 23rd has been submitted by Amy Gilly on the topic of public prayer at public school board meetings. At the August 28, 2024 Board of Trustees meeting, at the conclusion of the Pledge of Allegiance, the Lord's Prayer was recited by the majority of the governing board. This was clearly a surprise to attendees. Today, members of the board, as a resident of the city of Flint, I would like to discuss with you the legal precedents which prohibit public prayer at public school board meetings and how by allowing and participating in this public prayer, the governing board of Mott Community College violated established constitutional law, HLC accreditation standards, and its own board policy. First, over 60 years of Supreme Court decisions have affirmed that school prayer and prayer at school events are unconstitutional, even if the prayer is non-denominational or supported by a majority present. Public prayer at a public school board violates the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment, which was established in the Supreme Court ruling Ingle versus Vitale. The constitutional prohibition against laws respecting an establishment of religion must at least mean that in this country it is no part of the business of government to compose official prayers for any group of the American people to recite as a part of a religious program carried on by the government. The Establishment Clause of the First Amendment guarantees that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. This clause encompasses all federal and state governmental action, including prayer. In Everson versus Board of Education, the court applied this principle to state and local government entities, including school boards. Numerous case law exists to support the conclusion that school prayer as an example of religious exercise in the public school environment violates the Establishment Clause. Among key cases are McCollum versus Board of Ed, striking down religious instruction in public schools, Ingle versus Vitale declared prayers in public school unconstitutional, Coles versus Cleveland Board of Education, school board meeting prayers are unconstitutional, and Abington Township School District versus Shemp declared devotional Bible reading and reciting of the Lord's Prayer unconstitutional in public schools. The Court of Shemp stated that the principles prohibiting prayer in schools were so universally recognized that the court did not need to cite a single case in affirming those principles. It is Ingle's decision that court reaffirmed. The First Amendment protects minority and individual rights of conscience from tyranny of the majority. The school board meeting is a school-sponsored event and the subject to Establishment Clause precedent involving public schools. Ignorance of the law is not justifiable defense. It is expected that the governing board, who are entrusted to make informed decisions about educational matters, would be aware of this legal precedent. This leads to the second issue, the board's disregard for the Higher Learning Commission accreditation, criterion 2, integrity, ethical, and responsible conduct. The governing board is trained and knowledgeable so that it makes informed decisions with respect to institutional, financial, and academic policies and practices. The board meets its legal and fiduciary responsibilities. In this case, the board's majority have neglected to meet its legal and fiduciary responsibilities. Public prayer at a public school board meeting is prohibited, and continuing this practice opens the college up to legal challenges. Mott Community College is a public school funded by local, state, and federal tax dollars. It could be hoped that the board's legal advocate counseled you after the meeting in regard to the necessity to refrain from further public prayer at board meetings. Finally, the governing board fails to follow its own policy as set out in Section 1240. The board will act in the best interest of the college and the community as a whole. HLC accreditation criteria includes the governing board's actions and responsibilities. The board is part of the academic institution, which HLC requires its conduct to be ethical and responsible. In failing to follow its own policy, the board also fails HLC guidelines.
Thank you very much. Are there any other comments this evening?
Yes, Mr. Chair. The next comment has been submitted by R.J. Caudle of Flushing on the topic of inappropriate religious ritual and display at last meeting. My name is R.J. Caudle, and I'm a student at Mott Community College. Shonda Richardson Snell led the assembled in the Lord's Prayer at the start of the August board meeting. As a U.S. citizen, I was insulted by her childish and anachronistic display. The First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States of America says, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people peacefully to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. In 1947, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in Everson versus Board of Education that the Establishment Clause protections. The Establishment Clause refers to the part of the First Amendment that says that Congress can establish no state religion, extends to local and state governments, as well by the protections provided under the 14th Amendment of the Constitution, the 14th Amendment. That amendment reads in part, no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States. In short, since this is a public institution and every member of its board and all of its employees are de facto extensions of the state of Michigan and local municipalities Mott serves, by law, this board and interim president cannot begin meetings with religious prayer. Doing so endorses religion and abridges any citizen's right to be immune from such religious endorsement, whether that citizen doesn't subscribe to the specific religion or that citizen doesn't wish to have their civics served with a side of any kind of religion at all. The reading of the Lord's Prayer at the August meeting was just another reminder that this board and Ms. Richardson Snell have forgotten or don't care that that Mott is a public institution and that they consider it their own personal entity.
Thank you very much. Are there any other comments?
Yes, Mr. Chair. The next comment's been submitted by Catherine Guerin on the topic of hiring of the president search for MCC. When doing a search for the most important position at MCC, I think it is imperative that a nationwide search is implemented, not just in Michigan, and utilizing all the time it may take to acquire the right fit. In the past, for a president, this has always been the precedent, and I don't understand why that would change now. A candidate that is experienced in higher education has the proper credentials in the area, at least a master's level as a minimum, preferably a doctorate. Willingness to grow with a great college, which currently has great reputation, is what we need. This means that a rapid and limited search is not in the best interest of the college or the employees of the college. Please reconsider your limited search area, only Michigan, and also the short timeline for this search as well as the required credentials. It would be in the best interest of the college to hire a search company that provides a nationwide search and finds the best candidates from Mott College to interview. Respectfully, Catherine Guerin, faculty, Mott Community College.
Thank you very much. Are there any other comments?
Yes, Mr. Chair. The next one has been submitted by Matthew Packer of Flint, Michigan on the subject of the MCC presidential search. I've been a proud adjunct faculty member at Mott since 2010, and I have lived in the Flint area community most of my life. I have seen the impact Mott Community College has had within the community and have been honored to now be a small part of that. An excellence in student and community-centered education that has brought MCC national recognition is something I would like to see continued. I do not see that demonstrated in the way the MCC board is conducting its search for a new president who will guide the direction of the institution in the future. What could be an exciting and inclusive process has been secretive, casting a wide net to find the best possible candidate, has been relegated to a statewide search. Why? It is my hope that this board will reconsider this action for the good of our entire community and the impact these decisions will have on our collective future. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much. Are there any other comments?
Yes, Mr. Chair. The next one has been submitted by Phil Nolf, Brighton, on the subject of presidential search and board functioning in general. The decisions made by this board and the lack of transparency with the public are perplexing and beyond frustrating. I'm wondering how you have convinced yourself that you're working with the best interest of the college, students, and community in mind. Keep moving meeting dates, vote to move public comments until after you met in closed session and already made decisions. Fire the board attorney and install your personal attorney with a suspicious candidate hiring process. Fire a competent president after 10 years of successfully leading MCC through a water crisis and pandemic. Change the job requirements to hire an interim president who is not fit for the job, rejecting hiring an outside firm for a president, and limit the search to the mitten. Any one of these issues is a red flag. In totality, your stewardship has been either incompetent or purposely malevolent, and your service for the college needs to end.
Thank you very much. Are there any other comments?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Next one has been submitted by Chelsea James, Flint, Michigan, on the board's decision. Board decisions, my apologies. I would like to say to the public, don't be fooled by Mr. Everman's personal attorney, William Brickley, that was slowly maneuvered into the position of Mott Community College attorney. He has helped the march towards taking this community college away from the public that loves it. Are you trying to make it a private school run by a board of trustees who will be appointed to the board and not elected by the community? It was the attorney's suggestion to start changing the policies and rules at the college because, as he put it, they haven't been changed since 2008. Why change something that is already working for the school unless you want to change everything about the school? The attorney and the board have been slowly working to change policies to make sure they are doing everything legally so they can run the schools themselves, along with the now anointed interim president, who is the nervous puppet of all of them. Watch the previously recorded meetings on YouTube since their election over the past year. So much for the attorney that is supposed to represent the school and all of the board and staff. He only represents 5 of the board of trustees and the handpicked interim president. Mr. Brickley's father, James Brickley, who was a trustee at Eastern, had pretty much the same MO when he helped oust the president of Eastern Michigan University and made himself the president of the university back in 1976. Of course, at the time, his father was on the board of regents at Eastern, and so he pushed to get what he wanted. He pushed his way right into the president's position at the university. Mr. William Brickley, the attorney for Mott, was also on the board at Eastern Michigan University at one time. The prayer that was led by interim President Richardson Snell at the August 28, 2024 meeting, instead of a moment of silence, was very disrespectful. I am very surprised that Mr. Everman had nothing to say about it last year when having prayer at meetings was brought up by Wendy Wolcott. He said it would not be allowed as there are too many religions and all the religions would have to be heard from if it was allowed. What changed, Andy? Will all those different religions be knocking on the door now to be heard? The treasurer, Jeff Swanson, that needed a treasurer now will have a whole firm helping him figure out how to do his job. How impressive. More bean counters to search for fraud and mismanagement that doesn't exist. The secretary, Wendy Wolcott, that needed a secretary now has one. The former Genesee County GOP secretary, Diane Cotter, who worked closely with Matt Smith, will be taking notes for Wendy. Diane Cotter is the personal attorney for Janet Couch, John Daly, and Wendy Wolcott regarding the recalls that were filed against them. Are Jeff Swanson and Wendy Wolcott still treasurer and secretary? They were also anointed to these board positions. Were they even smart enough to do these jobs to begin with? Let's spend more of these taxpayers' money and pay someone else to do the work that they evidently can't do. The interim president, thanks to another new rule changed by the board, now can hire and fire whoever she feels like when she wants to whoever she is told by the board to replace. Let's wait to see how many friends and family members she hires along with Diane Cotter that are unable to get the job anywhere else without nepotism from the board of trustees at Mott, along with the Genesee County GOP members. There are already 2 attorneys that have been hired along with the interim president, which have no business being at Mott Community College as employees. Rumor has it, if anyone is looking for Mr. Everman, he can usually be found sitting in the president's office conferring with her pretty much daily. Let's give all the hand-picked, unqualified people a job. It's just the taxpayers' money. Who cares? Seems the board does whatever they want now that they have the power to do so. The board is beginning to decide what should be offered as classes and where they should meet, at what building should be used for each class. Once again, they are discussing all of this in private. It's quite evident based on Mr. Everman's ramblings at the last meeting. This is beginning to read like Project 2024 Mott Community College Takeover. The voters are watching and will be sure to look at their ballots carefully all the way to the bottom of the ballot. Let's all hope that Everman and Swanson will be replaced with others who can do what's right for the college. Don't be fooled by the unqualified people who have registered to run for the open board seats because they were told by Matt Smith, the election meddler, to do so. Please do your homework and don't trust people who are endorsing Everman, Swanson, Daly, Couch, and Wolcott for any position on the ballot. Please vote to keep Mott a community college for all Genesee County, not just a chosen few.
Thank you very much. Are there any other comments?
Yes, Mr. Chair. The next comment was submitted by Dr. Michelle Dunham, and she was going to make her comments in public. So is Michelle here? Seeing that she is not, I will read the comment. evening. My name is Dr. Michelle Dunham. I'm a 20-year member of the Mott faculty. I'm here today to ask the Board of Trustees to revise their current plan for the presidential search. The plan violates all norms of academic leadership, hiring with a ridiculously short timeline, no engagement of a reputable academic search firm, and a baseless Michigan residency requirement. No college hires leaders this way. Mott is currently looking to hire a new full-time faculty member in English, and we're giving greater time and care to that national search for one faculty member than you are to hiring the college president. As an English professor who teaches critical thinking and ethical rhetoric, I'd like to comment on statements made by two of the trustees at the most recent special meeting. Trustee Swanson said, everybody's upset of who this interim is, but now you want us to keep her in there longer. You can't have it both ways. Either we're going to hurry to do this, or the interim president is going to be in here that much longer. As students in a Mott English 102 course could point out, this is an example of a fallacy of logical reasoning called the false dilemma. Swanson has reduced a problem that could be addressed any number of ways to an oversimplified either or. Either we hurry to do this, or we keep the interim president longer. Let's examine our actual options. If we do not fill the permanent position prior to the end date of the interim president's contract, we could try to extend it. She could decline, of course, but that is only one solution. We have a number of other leaders at Mott who could take over as interim president. In fact, for those of you on this board and in the public who are not already aware, this is the normal process when a college president steps down. Fill the gap with a respected leader who's already here and devote all energy, time, and resources to conducting a thorough search for a new permanent president. Why has Swanson made a claim based on flawed logic? I'm not sure. Maybe he didn't think it through. Maybe he was trying to manipulate his audience by deliberately oversimplifying our options, or maybe someone else has manipulated his thinking behind the scenes. This is something that unethical arguers sometimes do to hijack the critical thinking part of their audience's brain. They make the claims that sounds reasonable on the surface, but that fall apart on closer examination. And that's something that we all need to be watching for. Trustee Daly made another claim in the special meeting that we should examine more closely. He said, I just think it's important to have someone with Michigan experience. Let me point out something that English 101 students could easily spot. Trustee Daly, you do not support this opinion with any evidence or reasoning. Statements of opinion alone are not convincing to an audience. Again, we have a claim that sounds reasonable on the surface. Why wouldn't we want someone from Michigan to fill this role? Buy local, hire local. All that sounds good, but how might we be circumscribing solutions to the problems Mott may face in the coming years by limiting the talent pool so drastically? 12 years ago, the Mott English faculty sought solutions to a problem we were seeing in our development writing courses. Not enough of our students were moving forward in English 101 and successfully passing that class. We wanted to see what other institutions were doing to close the success gap. We did not restrict our search to institutions in the state of Michigan. We found a new model, an accelerated learning program at CCBC was groundbreaking and has transformed developmental education at Mott and across the nation, so that all students are able to begin freshman composition in their first semester of college, and students who need additional support to meet the challenge receive it. If we had mistakenly believed that only institutions in Michigan could solve this problem, we might still be stuck in a program format that didn't work. Maybe there's a VP at a college in Maine, Ohio, Wisconsin, or Pennsylvania right now who has solved a problem that we have here too. Why not take a broader look to see what perspective other academic leaders across the nation might offer us here? There's no rush.
Thank you very much. Are there any other comments?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Next comment's been submitted by Linda Lee Massoud, Flint, Michigan, on the presidential search timeline. In the business world of the 21st century, it has become more important than ever for an organization to choose the right employee the first time. Searches are generally geographically broad. Vetting potential employees includes multiple interview types, tests, and personnel. The search for a college president should be no less meticulous. Additionally, involving stakeholders in the process is the best way to obtain their buy-in and support. The lack of such input can lead to disastrous results. Renee West, the first woman to be named as a president of a Las Vegas strip resort, said, "You can have the best strategy and the best building in the world, but if you don't have the hearts and minds of the people who work with you, none of it comes to life. Your stakeholders who compromise 99% of their life and potential successes of this institution implore you to discard the fugacious timeline presented on page 70, the agenda, in favor of a well-considered, thorough, and inclusive approach to filling the vital position of college president. Respectfully, Linda Lee Massoud."
Thank you very much. Are there any other comments?
Yes, Mr. Chair. The next one was submitted by Bobby Wallen, who's going to make her comments in person. I see Bobby is here. Will you be commenting on the September 23rd and as well as today? Yes. Okay.
Yes, it applies. I actually brought my comments from the 23rd. I would like to preface my comments tonight by saying that I have been talking with a friend who's having difficulty with one of her children, and I only minored in psychology, but I raised 4 kids, and I said, well, you know, she wouldn't be doing what she's doing if it didn't pay off for her. Somehow she's getting what she wants out of what she's doing. So I'm going to preface my comments with that to tell you that I have figured out why Chair Everman is doing what he's doing by what the payoff is. This board has been making decisions that don't make sense unless the decisions lead to a common goal. I believe I found that goal. I'm confronting you with my conclusions as to that goal. You may prove me wrong if you can. Your chair wants a job, a paying job. He has done everything he can to carry out his plans and shenanigans outside of public view because he is inept. The evidence of all of this is very clear and provable. The beginning was when your chair pushed himself into the position of chair and then led a campaign to fire the board attorney. His efforts to hire his own attorney for this job were finally rewarded. Now we have a board attorney serving his master, and I have done statistical studies of the board, the invoices you've received for legal fees, and I can show you where that's true. He is being used to cover behind-the-scenes collusion and serve as a conduit between the colluders. From January through July, your board attorney has been paid just under $49,000. Not bad for a part-time job. Next, your chair led a campaign to bully the college president into resigning rather than agreeing to remain at Mott. This cost the college $300,000 in a settlement, and we lost a highly qualified president. All of this was managed by your board attorney, who advised the chair at each step.